Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the King Jordan Radio Show. It is Thursday, July 21st, 2016. Tonight on the show, we'll be discussing the Fox News CEO, Roger Ailes, who's been in the middle of a lot of accusations, and now there's word that he has left the company indefinitely. We'll talk about that with our guest. We'll talk about the powerful message from last week's ESPYs from the four top NBA players. We'll also talk about the parents of the little child that got killed by the alligator in Disney, and they are electing not to sue. We'll talk about that and more. Charles Barkley's comments on the shootings. We'll get our guest reaction. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're honored and privileged to have one of our favorite guests. He is a veteran CNN, HLN legal analyst. He's a New York City defense attorney. He was just at the National Bar Association discussing the OJ case. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. A very smart man, Joey Jackson, joins us. Good evening, Joe. How are you?
King Jordan, I am fabulous. The honor and privilege is mine to join you, and I'm just grateful for the fine work that you do and bringing your listeners the latest in legal news and just informing and educating the public about what's going on in this crazy world that we're living in. So good to be with you.
It is crazy, and I did touch on that you were at the Bar Association. If you could give us a quick minute about that, how was it and what went down, that would be great if you could tell my audience.
It was fabulous. It was fabulous. It's always nice to catch up with your colleagues from across the country and to see what's going on in various communities across the country as attorneys are fighting hard for, justice and fighting hard to do the right thing by their clients. It's interesting because people say a lot of things about lawyers. There's a lot of jokes about lawyers, but the people who really need them and depend upon them are not laughing and know that, it's a job that needs to be done. And so it's always nice to catch up with people who are warriors for those who, really need someone in their corner to fight for them in the darkest moments of their lives. And so it was great to see such great people and such talented people. And of course, I presided over a discussion involving the OJ case, which the world seems to be fascinated with still. Carl
22
Douglas,
years later.
Yeah, it's amazing. 22 years later, the world's fascinated. You have the FX series. It pulled the highest on cable. You have this ESPN ABC series. Did fabulously well.
Did you see that one?
And so, yeah, it's. I saw both of them. I was, it was just. So it was nice. The conference was nice, and it was good to interview Carl Douglas, who, of course, was on the Dream Team. He was 39 years old back then, a couple of years older now, but just, a titan, and it went over really well. And he really answered everyone's questions about the OJ case and about, some inside baseball of what was going on in the case, sharing his thoughts about various personalities involved. And it was nice to be there. It was in Missouri, so it was nice to be in Missouri and to catch up with my colleagues. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, Tom Mesereau did something like that in 2013. Him, the defense, his team, the prosecutors, they brought a case against Michael Jackson and lost all 14 counts. The judge, they went over aspects of the case, like, what does it take to get the right people for the as far as jurors, as far as witnesses, the whole ifs, goods, and bads.
It's interesting that you mentioned jurors. Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, Tom Mesereau is an amazing attorney, amazing man. But you mentioned jurors, and I'll just say real quickly, it's so important to the process. And, of course, we spoke a lot about the jury selection and that process because what everyone needs to understand is that if you're not speaking to a receptive audience, you have an uphill battle. And so it's so important to speak to jurors, to acquire jurors, and to select jurors who are what we call predisposed to your case, who are willing to be open-minded about what they're going to hear, who are willing to listen to the evidence and not base it on emotion and base it on being judgmental, but simply base it on what the evidence shows. Although we know sometimes jurors certainly base things on much more than the evidence, but it's so important to have a jury that can sit in judgment and just be open-minded and receptive to the arguments that they're going to hear. So jury selection means so much. We certainly went into a lot of that, George.
And real quick, I know I didn't mention this, but your thoughts on Dr. Murray, who the man responsible in the court of law for killing Michael Jackson, coming out with a book named This Is It, talking about these alleged things that he did, like say that he was in a costume and he ordered out hookers, and that Michael Jackson would want him to set the record straight. I saw some people on the talk saying it was disgusting and that he needs to get a life. What's your take on Dr. Murray, convicted killer, coming out with a book about Michael Jackson? Named This Is It.
Well, I think that the public certainly would want more information on Michael Jackson. I think he's an icon in the community. There's a fascination about who Michael Jackson was, what it's all about. And I certainly could see where Conrad Murray would want to repair his reputation and speak to things from his perspective. But he didn't in the book. Yeah, I guess, in the final analysis, I never begrudge any more information being added to society. And so, while there will be multiple opinions about whether he should have a book, should write a book, should think about a book, his guilt, etc., I just think the reality is that I would never begrudge more information being extended to the public so that we can be more educated and make our own judgments as to what happened, what did happen, who's right, who's wrong, etc. So I say that's my ruling.
Okay. Another person who has a strong opinion is Sir Charles Barkley from Alabama. Now, let me play you this cut, and I want to get your take. Basically, he covers everything.
The cops have made some mistakes. That don't give us the right to riot and shoot cops. We need the cops, especially in the black community. We as black people, we've got to do better. We never get mad when black people kill each other, which that always has bothered me. It has always bothered me. And then somebody's going to scream like, well, you can't change the subject. Well, first of all, I've never changed the subject. I've always said we as black people, if you want respect, you have to give each other respect. You can't demand respect from white people and the cops if we don't respect each other. So we got to do better as black people. The cops have made some mistakes. But there's a lot of blame to go around. But I'm not going to get on TV and yell like all these other idiots but I'm willing to sit down with anybody and have a constructive criticism. I always tell myself as a black man, am I part of the problem? Am I part of the solution? And if I'm out doing illegal stuff, stupid, I'm part of the problem. If I'm helping young black kids go to college like I'm trying to do, if I'm giving money to causes to help young black men get it, I know I'm part of the solution. I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. But you have to ask yourself, are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution? I respect and admire what cops do. My bodyguard is a cop, a black cop. We talk about situation all the time. And one of the problems with this stuff on the media, all these people are Monday morning quarterbacks. And you know what they are, Dan? They're Monday morning quarterbacks because they don't have the stones to play on Sunday. Everybody say what I would do or what I should do. I think some of these cops are panicking under pressure. Because I had a real in-depth conversation with my bodyguard about the gun thing in Minnesota. Dan, I'm a gun guy. And he always warns me, he said, do not put your ID where your gun is. He says, what I think, and I'm not saying, he says, I don't know whether we think the cop is right or wrong. First of all, everything is happening in fast motion. Everything's happening. Everybody get to sit back and see what happened. He says, what I think happened was that cop said, can I have your ID? And then the next thing he said was, I have a gun, and he reaches. and I think the cop just panicked.
I know, but Charles, they're more likely to panic around black people because there's a fear of
Dan,
black
because
people.
in fairness, some black people out there, they are crooks. Now, you can't sit there and act like all the, first of all, I'm saying in that situation, there's a reason, there's some, and I'm not saying that's right either. There is some reason why there's racial stereotype, because some of these black people out there are committing crimes. Let's don't sit there and act like all our hands are clean. Let me say.
But Charles, that you can't be profiling like that. I understand.
These guys they're dealing with criminals every day, and that's easy for you to say. And like I say, I'm not saying they should racial profile guys. I'm saying that's wrong. But I'm saying we can't jump to conclusions every time like it's because a guy is black. First of all, there is racial profiling. There's always been racism. First of all, there's racism on both sides. Let's get that straight. But to just assume, first of all, if you go back and look at that thing in Louisiana, I think those cops clearly overreacted. But there's no doubt in my mind, if I'm fighting with a guy and I hear somebody scream gun and I got a gun, I'm going to shoot the guy. And like I say, the cops probably did overreact in both situations. But we got to look at the big picture. Let's work with the cops because we need the cops, Dan. If it wasn't for the cops, we'd be living in the wild, wild west. And let me get this straight. Cops have made mistakes. But as a black person, every time you try to say, hey, listen, we still got to do better. But like I say, when I say, why don't black people get mad when we kill each other? And I'm not trying to deflect or place blame. That's just a fact.
That's not true, Charles.
It is true, Dan. Why don't, Dan, first of all, you're not black.
I know I'm not black, but that's not true that black people don't get mad that other black people are killing black people. That's not true.
We don't have near the outrages we do when a white cop kills somebody. Dan, I've been black my whole life. Most black people I know are killed by other black people, and I've never understood why there's not this moral outrage the way we treat each other as black people.
It can be both, Charles.
It can be both. But, Dan, first of all, if you're going to sit on TV and say there's the same moral outrage when black people kill each other, when white people kill each other, that's just disingenuous on your part.
We done?
No, we're not done. I can talk to you anytime, Dan. You know I love talking to you.
All right, hold on a second.
Because I think you always try to be fair.
All right, hold on.
But I'm not letting you just go say stuff and get away with it.
I haven't said anything. What have I said? Stay there.
No, I'm just saying, just don't tell me there's the same moral outrage when black people kill each other.
I didn't say it was the same. It's
okay,
both.
I just want you to know that. Because that offends me even more when I hear people, when black people, like, dude, we got to stop killing each other. Because to get respect, you have.
Wow, some strong comments from Hall of Famer Charles Barkley. What is your thoughts, Joey Jackson, as you hear this?
Well, I have a few thoughts. Number one, certainly he's been outspoken all of his life. You know what you're going to get through Charles Barkley. He never is afraid to state his opinion.
Never.
And he says some things that I think are very credible and very important and true, and he says other things which I don't know that he really should be saying. And here's what I mean by that. I would begrudge no one saying anything. We have a freedom of speech and First Amendment. But I don't think that you could make opinions about, oh, well, he probably shot him, talking about Castillo in the car because he was probably reaching for his wallet and it was with his gun. I mean, how does he know that? I think
he's
that,
making assumptions.
Clearly, I don't think you can speculate and make assumptions when a life like that is taken. We've all seen the videotape, and unfortunately,
Right.
we saw the videotape too late because we don't know specifically what led to it. But I just take umbrage with anyone who would speculate as to specifically what occurred in an effort to justify that it may have been justified. It clearly appeared to be some type of overreaction. The officer, when they, after it was over, when the girlfriend was there, seemed to be saying, hey, I told him. The officer seemed to be panicked and shook and seemingly hysterical. So I would just take umbrage with him attempting to justify that. I also would take umbrage with him justifying the other shooting, suggesting when a cop yells gun, he panicked and shot him, and, what do you expect him to do? I think that what I would expect any law enforcement officer to do, who I have tremendous respect for, and I think they serve us our dignity, and protect people and save people, and I think we owe them a debt of gratitude. There are some who don't. And in this particular instance, I don't think you can justify a shooting by saying, well, his partner, he said he had a gun, so he blasted him away. I would expect the level of professionalism. I would expect the level, of training that goes along with what you do. I mean, clearly I can't do what a police officer does, but there's a reason they do what they do. And so the fact that they yelled gun alone for Charles Barkley to say, oh, well, hey, he yelled gun, that makes sense. I don't think someone deserves to die. We have a Second Amendment right that allows people to carry guns. So if I have a gun, I should be shot. I mean, okay, in the event that his arm, which is the critical issue, they're going to look at his arm and where was his arm relative to that gun. If it demonstrated that his arm was attempting to grab that gun, and it seemed to me that he was pinned down and under control and no need for him to be shot, but if on the further investigation, when everything comes out, if his arm's near that gun, okay. But I don't think Charles Barkley's saying, oh, well, he yelled gun, he shot him. The issue I have with him is him attempting to justify the police conduct. And, again, I just want to be very clear. I think we need to respect police. I think retaliation of any kind is outrageous. It's despicable. It's deplorable. It should never happen. I agree with him that we need the police. The police need communities, but I don't agree that you justify things. The other issue, with respect to him talking about outrage, no one's ever outraged. I mean, I'm outraged when anybody's shot and killed. It's just wrong. But I think certainly there needs to be more within the African-American community of a coming together, of a unification, of a discussion about black-on-black crime. Clearly there needs to be that discussion. But I think that I'm certainly outraged when I see killing of black and black, of white and white, of yellow and purple. I think, when you shoot people and engage in senseless violence, it's just offensive to our notion of humanity. So, I just think that he certainly packed a lot into it. He's certainly entitled to his opinions. The only thing I take umbrage with him saying is really attempting to justify what had occurred. And I think that, that certainly would not be appropriate. But, Charles is Charles, and Charles is going to do and say what he feels he needs to do and what he needs to say.
Yeah, that's why he's been doing, like you said, all his life. And I guess what I'll take out of it from your standpoint is some of the things you agree with and some of the things you don't so much agree with.
Exactly. Precisely right. Remember, he was the one who said, I'm no role model. I'm not a role model. That was years ago, if you remember that.
Yes, that commercial, right, absolutely. And speaking of unification, last week at the ESPYs, Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James, for the first few minutes, opened up the show with a message about guns. Here it is. I want to get your take on the other side.
Tonight is a celebration of sports, celebrating our accomplishments and our victories. But in this moment of celebration, we ask to start the show tonight this way. The four of us talking to our fellow athletes with the country watching, because we cannot ignore the realities of the current state of America. The events of the past week have put a spotlight on the injustice, distrust, and anger that plague so many of us. The system is broken. The problems are not new. The violence is not new. And the racial divide definitely is not new. But the urgency to create change is at an all-time high.
We stand here tonight accepting our role in uniting communities to be the change we need to see. We stand before you as fathers, sons, husbands, brothers, uncles, and in my case, as an African-American man and the nephew of a police officer who was one of the hundreds of thousands of great officers serving this country. But Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Eric Gardner, Laquan McDonald, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile. This is also our reality. Generations ago, legends like Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson, Muhammad Ali, John Carlos, and Tommy Smith, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, Billie Jean King, Arthur Ashe, and countless others. They set a model for what athletes should stand for. So we choose to follow in their footsteps. The racial profiling has to stop. The shoot-to-kill mentality has to stop. Not seeing the value of black and brown bodies has to stop. But also the retaliation has to stop. The endless gun violence in places like Chicago, Dallas, not to mention Orlando, it has to stop. Enough. Enough is enough. Now, as athletes, it's on us to challenge each other to do even more than what we already do in our own communities. And the conversation cannot stop as our schedules get busy again. It won't always be convenient. It won't. It won't always be comfortable. But it is necessary.
We all feel helpless and frustrated by the violence. We do. But that's not acceptable. It's time to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what are we doing to create change? It's not about being a role model. It's not about our responsibility to the tradition of activism. I know tonight we'll honor Muhammad Ali, the GOAT. But to do his legacy any justice, let's use this moment as a call to action for all professional athletes to educate ourselves, explore these issues, speak up, use our influence, and renounce all violence. And most importantly, go back to our communities, invest our time, our resources, help rebuild them, help strengthen them, help change them. We all have to do better. Thank you.
A very powerful message by the four all-stars in the NBA's top league. Joey, I thought it was very powerful, very insightful. Give me your take on it.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I think it's very important to athletes and other people who are celebrities to lend their voice to just causes. I'm delighted
with a platform
that
like that.
100%. I'm delighted that people who do have that platform, like these four megastars, are speaking about it, and I thought it was a very balanced message. I thought it was balanced in as much as speaking out against the retaliation and suggesting in no uncertain terms that it's completely wrong to be targeting police, in recognizing the police and what they're doing to save lives in communities and working hard, and at the same time talking about the injustice at the hands of police and those who have died at the hands of police, and just making communities more aware and allowing people to come together and asking them to come together and to educate themselves about these issues, to speak out about these issues, and really to end the violence everywhere. And so I am grateful that athletes of this stature would come out and speak out about the issue, particularly when so many young people across this country look to them for guidance, look to them for support, look to them, just to really be the barometer of who you should be and how you should be acting and what you should be doing. So I applaud the NBA and I applaud all four of them for being the face of this very important issue.
And Chris Paul, in the middle of it, even mentioned that he has police in his family. Your thoughts on that?
That's right. Absolutely. And it touches home. And I think, the police are working hard, and they don't certainly deserve to be shot and killed and be held accountable for the actions of a rogue few who don't represent the majority. At the same time, you get and understand that there's a mistrust, that there's a feeling of that communities are over-policed and that people feel that police engage in aggression unnecessarily, but that's never a justification, never an excuse. It's never just gives people creative license to go out and target police, and it's just despicable. And as they say, it's got to stop.
No question about it. And you would agree that NBA players, despite what Charles Barkley said 20 years ago, are role models. I mean, I can tell you during that commercial, they were playing the Bulls in the finals. I was 7th, 8th grade looking up to Charles Barkley, going to the park, trying to play like him. I'm sure Chris Paul, Carmelo, LeBron, and D. Wade are just like that to kids in junior high school.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And it's, look, if you're going to be a star in any form, I think that there's things that come with that. And one of the things is a responsibility. And I think you should use that responsibility for good. And I believe that those four really did that. And it's so responsible of the NBA. And they're great people. And in telling and encouraging other athletes with their stature to go back and work within their communities, I think that's a message that everybody needs to hear. It really, really is. And hopefully with everybody working hard and understanding that we all might be different. But you know what? We bleed the same and we hurt the same, and we all share common experiences, like being fathers and being mothers,
right?
And being people who have families. I think, those commonalities really need to keep us together so that we can look towards peace in the days, months, and years to come.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll do one last story, then we'll go to callers, so we won't do 4 stories. So here's a story on Megyn Kelly saying that she was sexually abused. Here's a cut of the sound we'll talk about.
We are live in Cleveland as the Republican National Convention gets underway.
Fox News megastar Megyn Kelly is reportedly claiming she was sexually harassed by her boss at Fox News Channel 10 years ago. New York Magazine reports that Kelly is saying that Fox News Channel CEO Roger Ailes made unwanted sexual advances when she was a young correspondent at Fox. At the Republican convention, we caught up with journalist Gabriel Sherman, who broke the story.
It means that Roger Ailes, the larger-than-life head of Fox News, his future is now in doubt. The Murdoch family that owns Fox News has given him an ultimatum that he needs to resign from the company by August 1st, or he would be fired for cause.
Mr. Trump.
45-year-old Megyn Kelly became a TV icon after confronting Donald Trump in his first debate.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
She was featured on the cover of February's Vanity Fair as Fox News' brightest, toughest star.
Megyn Kelly's allegations were reportedly made to a team of lawyers hired by Fox to investigate the claims that 76-year-old Ailes sabotaged the career of former Fox News anchor Gretchen Carlson because she rebuffed his advances.
Carlson is now suing Ailes, alleging in court papers that he told her, "I think you and I should have had a sexual relationship a long time ago. Then you'd be good and better, and I'd be good and better." Ailes, considered to be the most powerful man in TV news, has denounced the charges. Gretchen Carlson's allegations are false. This is a...
All right, Joey, as a defense attorney, do you look at the situation different maybe than the average person, in the sense that maybe Roger definitely didn't do this, maybe this is some kind of conspiracy, just maybe, because of your work, 2 decades plus as a defense attorney? I'm sure you've seen people in high situations try this. I'm sure you've seen people, though, also be, inappropriately accused, falsely accused. So as a defense attorney, I'm sure you saw somebody falsely accused of something. So from your standpoint, how does Joey Jackson look at this story?
Well, from a defense perspective, just so that everyone's clear, you're obviously taught to be skeptical, to be probing, there needs to be proof to support allegations. You look at when it happened, where it happened, who, if anyone, it was reported to, how many other people might be corroborating, that is, saying the same thing or having witnessed it. Were there recent outcry witnesses, meaning you may not, after something happens, did you tell a colleague, tell a friend? So it's from a defense perspective, what you're always looking for is corroboration, support. In the event that something happened, what factually is there that you could support it and prove it? In this particular case, what happens is that Megyn Kelly apparently was Paul Weiss, a law firm. They were investigating, and in pursuant to their investigation, they were asking people questions about what they know, what they saw, what their experience was with him. Was he fair? Was he decent? Was he reasonable? How did he treat you? What did he say to you? How did you interact with him? Where were you? Were you alone ever? And so I'm presuming that she answered the questions to the best of her ability that were posed to her. And so, listen, what you have to believe, and who knows exactly what happened, not as though Gretchen Carlson is alone on an island. She now has Megyn Kelly corroborating and supporting and otherwise saying, hey, something very similar happened to me. What's interesting to me, though, is apparently it didn't have the same effect on Megyn Kelly's career as it did on Greta Carlson's career, right? This happened 10 years ago. Megyn Kelly has risen to become, who I know and who is one of the most decent, honorable, and kind people. That's Megyn Kelly, by the way.
I met her, and and I have the right to that.
She's
a wonderful
she
person.
Is just a very good person. So I mean, I look at her credibility, just by knowing and interacting with her and appearing with her many times in my career and having spoken to her and just having everyday conversations with her. I look at her as a very credible source, which is something look, every witness you evaluate, who are they? What do they bring to the table? And so
how is their credibility?
I view her credibility highly. I've also worked with, Gretchen Carlson before, known her, spoken to her, interacted with her, and I know Roger Ailes as well. So I know the parties involved, and, it just, who knows? I ultimately, he's entitled to a fair hearing about what exactly happened. I think it's wrong for anybody to jump to conclusions about anything. But at this point, apparently he's losing the trust and the faith in the actual executives who he's responsible to, and that's troubling. And so, it's completely inappropriate for women to be harassed and for women to be treated like anything other than, the wonderful human beings that they are. And so if this is true, then he has to pay the piper and he has to face the music. And if that means losing his job, I don't think he'll be so sad, because the reports I hear are that it's a $40 million payout. But, the reality is that if he engaged in sexual harassment, I think that he's going to have to be held accountable for that. At the same time,
but just as somebody, as a high-quality person as yourself, gives a good write-up about the accuser here, Megyn, there are people aside, whether it's Greta Van Huston, whether it's Geraldo, people like that obviously work at Fox. And there are Kimberly something, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But
Kimberly Guilfoyle. I know Kimberly Guilfoyle well. I know Geraldo well.
My point is, he has some great people saying that he's a good person, just like you're a great person, and the other people are pretty good people, as far as I know, who's saying that Mr. Ailes is a good person.
I think you could be a very good person, but you could also, and again, I don't know what happened. I'm not aware of it. I don't have any personal knowledge. I've never witnessed any harassment at all. But I think you'd be a good person, and people can value you and think you're a good person. And at the same time, when you're behind closed doors, there might be things that you might do and say that those other people who believe you're such a good person don't witness. So, we'll see what happens, if the allegations are true or not true. But in the final analysis,
the experts will tell you. Yes, the experts tell you that these people can be the person next door, your neighbors. They have no identity. So that's a very good point. Would you mind taking a couple callers before we go?
I would not at all. I would love to.
Okay, today we have a birthday call. She's from Huntington Beach. Let's bring in the birthday girl, Sarah. Good evening, Sarah, from Huntington Beach. You're live. It's your birthday, and you get to talk to Joey Jackson. What else can you ask for?
What else can I ask for? Just talk to Joey and you, Jordan. And thank you so much for saying it's my birthday. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Happy birthday.
Thank you. So many things. Every single day, there's just so many things. Charles Barkley, at first he kind of, I thought, he's kind of making sense here. But then the more he spoke, I realized it was a very, very simple summary of someone not taking all facts into consideration. And I think that every single case we hear about where an officer kills a person, a white person, black person, any person, I really think that all the facts have to be seen and heard to make a fair evaluation. And I think that should be with every single case, because there are so many cases where the police, I think, were wrong, and then there are some other cases where I think the police had no choice and they had to do that. You just can't give a blanket statement and say all is wrong or anything like that. That's what I think anyway. And as far as the racial profiling has bothered me for a really, really long time. And I think maybe about 20 years ago, I thought it was not so apparent, and I think maybe 20 years ago, unless I'm living in La La Land, I wasn't aware of it so much as I was a long time ago and as I am now. And I think the racial profiling has a whole lot to do with 9/11 also, because we can't only profile one race. I think everyone is on high alert and everyone is racially profiling everyone. And it is bothersome. It truly, truly is bothersome, and I don't know the answer. But I think it is a big issue that our country is dealing with. And Joey, your dad was a police officer, correct?
That's right.
And
That's right.
And was it in New York or where in New Jersey? Where was he a police officer?
In New York, in Manhattan.
And do you remember, would he talk about such things? Was there this awful divide between police and the public when he was serving our country?
It didn't appear to be. Let me say a few things, Sarah. First of all, you are an incredible human being. I wish you a wonderful birthday. And,
Joey, thank you.
It's the truth. It's really the truth, and I think, more people really need to be like you. Honestly, you are one of the most gracious people. What does it say about a person who today, I guess there was some post about me, and you're just so positive and upbeat and, attentive to really that when it's your birthday, and we should be celebrating you. And so,
thank you.
It's amazing. I hope to get to meet you one day. Listen, Sarah, my dad, when he was officer, he would share, and I was a little boy at the time, and I just remember the stresses and the strife that he went through and the various things that he would say occasionally about what it was like to be on the street. But he also told me one thing that was so important, and he said, all the things that I carry every day, a nightstick, I carry a gun, I carry a club, I carry whatever sprays and tools that he had. He said, the most important thing I have is my mouth to talk to people, to reason with people. Some you can, some you can't. But, in the event that you could diffuse a situation and calm a person down and have them understand I'm here to protect you, to serve you, to work with you, it allows people to be more at ease. And I think that's certainly what we need a lot more of. But I think these times are unlike times that I've ever witnessed, and I think much of that may indeed have to do with the fact that we have cell phones now, and the fact that because we have cell phones, we're capturing every moment, we're seeing everything, everything's highlighted, and so the media goes, and, we certainly run with it. So I'm not sure whether things have always been happening, and we just weren't capturing it like we do because everybody's a reporter, everybody has Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and we can immediately allow the public to react. But I just don't know that the country, as a whole and the things that I'm witnessing now were as pronounced as I recall when my dad was doing his thing. And it could have been that I was a naive young boy at the time. But I just really think, Sarah, that we have to get a grapple around this, and we have to learn to respect each other, to love each other, to work with each other, and there needs to be some kind of, commonality of purpose. I think we have to respect and understand police have a very difficult job, And I think the police have to respect and understand that communities want to feel safe, and they need to be a lot more sensitive in terms of their interactions with other people. And just because someone's hair may be different and they may dress different and talk different and, you know, respond to you differently doesn't mean that they're an axe murderer, that they mean you wrong. And so I think there's a cultural divide also that needs to be addressed. You know, I just think that somebody, you know, I just think somebody, because they might have dreads or, you know, or they may speak in a certain language or use their, you know, gesturing or whatever they do, you know, they could be the sweetest souls. It's not that they're there to harm you. And I think that cultural divide is, it becomes really problematic. And it's important that police are trained adequately and responsibly to deal with it. But it's also important that, you know, that motorists respect and understand the job that police are doing when they're approached too. And so we need a conversation about it. We need a mutual respect about it. We need a mutual understanding about it. But most of all, what we need is an end to the senseless violence that's occurring, you know, which is really becoming way too much to deal with.
You're absolutely right. And the only other thing, I won't keep you because I know you have other people wanting to call in. Mr. Roger Ailes, or Ailes, I don't know how you say it. You know, isn't it just something that just every few months there's somebody that pops up and is accused of these things, and maybe he did those things and maybe he didn't, but it just astounds me that, for heaven's sakes, people, can you not behave yourselves if he did it? The other thing, Megyn Kelly, I read an article on Megyn Kelly, and apparently her complaint was that she thought a hug was inappropriate, and maybe it was. I don't know. People are so afraid now in the workplace to even hug someone for your, you know, for your birthday or for a celebration of any kind. It's such a fine line that we're living in. And wow. Megyn Kelly, I'm sure you know this, Joey, she is also an attorney.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think that, well, you know, gosh darn it, if anybody would know the rules of sexual harassment, she would. And anyway, I like I said, I don't have a pie in the bakery. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't know whether he did these things or didn't do these things. But my question is, if someone, Roger or someone, does make what a woman would consider an inappropriate comment, and she rebuffs it right then and there, how could there be damage to her if she has rebuffed it? And could there be a case if she rebuffed it?
The answer, Sarah, first of all, you're right. We live in a day and age where, you know, people, you can't even give a hug. Believe me, if I saw you right now, it's your birthday, I'd hug you. I wouldn't care. So it's all good. In terms of the question about you rebuffing things, you know, look, just because you rebuff an advance doesn't make that advance any less appropriate because you speak out at it at the time. So I just think that, you know, in the event that a woman, and I think it puts a woman in a very difficult spot that they shouldn't have to be in. If an employer is engaging in advances with a woman, if they rebuff it, you know, do they lose their job? What are the repercussions? You know, maybe they're supporting families or a breadwinner in their family, and so it's a very difficult position. What do you do if you're a woman and you're harassed? I would never know. I mean, so if you speak out against it and you rebuff it, there's fear of reprisal because your employer will fire you. Do anything. Then did you really speak up, and are you being true to who you are? And then if you speak up about it later, do they believe you because you didn't speak up at about the time? So it just puts women in an impossible position, and that's why I say the best position to put women in is one of respect. And so if people respect and are courteous and are decent and honorable, then we wouldn't have to deal with this. But unfortunately, we're going to be talking about sexual harassment and those type issues for a long time to come because, as you said, Sarah, come on, people, what's the matter with you? You know, can't we just, you know, get things together here? That's just the life that we're living in.
Absolutely, Sarah. Happy birthday, and thank you so much for the call. Let's say hello to our final caller. She's been so good. We're giving quick graphics to Richard Herman, myself, and even you, Joey. Let's say hello to Mary, and she's out of Virginia, and she says hello tonight. Good evening, Mary. How are you?
Hi, King Jordan. How are you? And it's great to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, and it's great to talk to you again, Joey. To have
Mary,
you,
how are we?
So glad
how we
to talk
doing?
with you.
Fabulous to talk to you.
Brings a smile to my face.
Thank
she
you.
She does an excellent job, Mary, of spreading
you.
the word that Joey Jackson will be on the King Jordan Radio Show.
Yes, I do. I did. And, well, I'm not going to get into, the racial thing about this one way or the other. What I do want to talk in general terms is that we just all need to take a time out and choose love every single time instead of hate. And we need to work within the system to right every wrong.
Amen.
Because two wrongs do not make a right. Just like there are some cops that make inappropriate aggressive arrests and that ends in someone being killed, that does not justify, on the other hand, the killing of police officers by other individuals due to frustration or mental illness or whatever. Think that it's okay to target police officers in another county or in another state. It just makes sense.
Amen.
And I have two boys who are in their early 20s, and I have always said to them, because they've had their share of, little problems here and there, is that it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, or as you say, green or purple, Joey, that you always do what you're told to do. If a police officer says step out of the car, step out of the car. I might be wrong, but that's what I said. We can argue the case later, but you will be alive.
Exactly right.
I also must say that cops profile young white males as well with respect over females. Young males, white or black, get profiled. Females get away with a lot more than males do, like, with tickets, traffic tickets, and all kinds of stuff. So with that, I just feel compelled to that if you are compelled to protest, you have that right, but do it peacefully. And I did want to just mention real quickly, I saw the other side of the Baltimore riots on TV the other day. It was on a drama show on Discovery Life, and it had to do with the Freddie Gray Baltimore riots. And you got to see what happened to those people that were hit with rocks and bricks, police officers, bystanders, shop owners, because we didn't get to see that from the other part. So it was all in the trauma unit as they were coming in that night. And there were officers who had bricks thrown at their heads, random people walking who got shot for no reason, peaceful shop owners had their stores broken into and beaten. And then one story that really got to me was two brothers. They were both black. They were coming out peacefully out of a store, and they were both shot multiple times. They were out celebrating one of the other's birthday. They both went to different hospitals because one was more critical than the other. One went to the Baltimore shock trauma, and he did not survive, but the other brother did.
Oh.
And that just, so it just cuts you, because a lot of people don't know after they read the news what happens afterwards to these people that are shot and, killed, or lose their jobs, whatever. So I just want to end this by quoting the great Martin Luther King Jr. in his statement where he says, "Nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man who wields it. It is a sword that heals." And that's it for tonight.
You are a beautiful human being, and I thank you so much for your call and for your sentiments.
Oh, thank you
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And just the one thing I'll say to you, which is significant, is what I always preach, and you hit it, and that is, comply now, grieve later. Meaning, if you're certainly asked to do something, do it, no matter how unjust you believe it to be. And we could always deal with it at a later time. But
exactly.
You'll have your life.
Right. Okay, well, both of you have a great evening, and I've certainly enjoyed calling in and talking to you guys.
Amen.
And
you be well, okay?
Thank you so much, Mary. You do an excellent job with those beautiful graphics, and thank you so much for making a contribution to the show. And I also want to thank some other people, Vicky, Pager, Maddie, and Sharon, and you know a few of them, Joey, right? I think you know all of them.
I know all of them.
Facebook.
They are incredible human beings, and I'm just so grateful and thankful to know them.
Yes,
indeed. So I echo your sentiments, indeed.
And Joey, I want to leave you with this. I want to thank you for just being you. You're an awesome person. You're a kind-hearted person. You're a patient person. Most of all, you're a very kind-hearted person. And in the world that we live in, and the things that we go through this for the last couple of years, it's good to have people with your nature, your kindness, your talent. It's just good to be around that, and it's good to be around that type of people. It rubs off, and it does so much good, positive, because your way. There's so many people that look up to you. I am one. You have such a class act about you, and I can't say any more than that.
I'm really grateful for that. I really, really am. That is very sweet. It's very kind. And I'm just thankful to know people like you. And I'm grateful to have an opportunity every chance I get to speak with you and to speak with those who listen, and to have people who are as talented as you put the message out there about what's happening in the world today. So I'm here.
You don't have to come on the show. You always find time. There's a lot of people that, might ask for a fee or whatever. Joe didn't ask for a nickel. First time, 4 or 5 years ago, I asked him. He got right back to me. No problem. More people like you in this world would be a great world. Thank you so much, Joey, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you. God bless, all right? You be well. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Have a good one, Joe.
Take care. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the one and only Joey Jackson, and I'll tell you something. I tell him that we're only going to do 35 minutes, tops maybe 30 minutes, but he gives us an extra almost 20 minutes. So he is a great person, and I can see so much why you guys love him and continue to have fan support pages, and you always want to see him on TV, and rightfully so. So hopefully we'll get more Joey Jackson. He gave us an excellent show from talking about everything from the Conrad Murray to Barkley to the NBA players. It was a wonderful, wonderful show. But since it's Throwback Thursday, I'm going to leave you with something that my mom got me into when I was a kid. Maybe some of you listeners heard of it. It's the Carpenters on a Throwback Thursday night. Good evening. We'll see you next Thursday, same time, same place.